Hey guys, Sakura the Diesel here, and welcome back to my top 20 favorite Thomas and Friends episodes from the Classic series. I have nothing else to say, so let's get started. Number 10, Salty's Secret. In this episode, a new engine named Salty comes to the island of Sodor. When he starts off his new work, he's sad because he doesn't get to work by the sea, but instead has to work in the quarries. What I like about this episode is I feel sorry for Salty. I know how he feels. I mean, think about it. Did you ever want to work by something that you really love, but you didn't get the chance? That's what I thought. I do have one question though. How does Salty know that trucks like to sing? Did he have to learn that? Or did he already know already? Oh well, whatever the reason, Salty's Secret is so far the only Salty story I like in the show. Number 9, James in a Mess. Here's another Season 1 episode that I like. In this episode, James, of course, is boasting how splendid he looks. But of course, he messes up and gets his paint dirty. What I like about this episode is the runaway and the crash. And that's about it. Like Down the Mine, I guess I just like this episode just because. The only problem I have with this is, how did Toby know about the bootlace incident? Did someone tell him? Oh well, who cares. James is a Mess has a good crash and a good Thomas episode. Number 8, A Close Shave for Duck. In this episode, Duck helps Edward beam his back engine with some trucks. But the trucks break free and chases Duck. What I like about this episode is the runaway. This is one of my favorite runaway scenes. Plus, Duck looking like a grandpa, priceless. A Close Shave for Duck is one of the funny Thomas episodes ever. Well, in this list. Number 7, The Refreshment Lady's Stand. Some of you probably saw this coming because I like Peter Sam. But not only that, I'll get to that. I'll explain why in a bit. In this episode, the refreshment lady wants to set up a new stand, so Peter Sam takes her around the island. She likes all the places, so Peter Sam had another idea. He turned an old rail car into one of those, stands that you see in the street, where you move to one place for another, kind of like an ice cream truck. What I like about this episode is we get to see the refreshment lady again. It's nice that we do. It's been like, what? 3 seasons and now she's already came back? Wow. Oh well. I do have one question though. Who's gonna serve food in the middle of a river next to a castle? Plus, who's living in that castle anyway? Oh well. Despite from that though, this episode is probably the last favorite episode from Season 7 to be on this list. Number 6. The World's Strongest Engine. In this episode, Henry has an accident, so Sir Topham Hatt sends Diesel to work in the docks until Henry is repaired. Of course, the trucks are up to their old trick, and of course, they make Diesel fail. What I like about this episode is the trucks. The trucks are like their own Island of Sodor Bugs Bunny, and what Diesel has to go through with them. So I guess you could say the trucks are like Bugs Bunny, and Diesel's Elmer Fudd, or Yosemite Sam, whichever comes first. This is another funny Thomas episode, and a really good Diesel episode as well. Number 5, Toad Stands By. In this episode, Oliver is having some trouble with some trucks, and Toad makes him feel better and stands up for him. What I like about this episode is how loyal Toad is to Oliver, and how he's standing up for him. I really like that. I also like how they bring back the Pop Goes to Diesel song, but this time with Oliver. Sometimes I wish I had people stand up for me when I'm being bullied, but that happens on rare occasions. Oh well. Toad Stands By is a really good Oliver and Toad story, and another good episode for Season 4. Number 4, Thomas Comes to Breakfast. I tried so hard not to include this episode because this is one of the most famous episodes, but I just like this episode. I'm not going to talk about the plot because everybody knows it, so I'll go and explain why I like this episode. I mainly like this episode because of the crash and the inside of the house. Dude, that's a cool house. I want to live in there. But I do have one question though. Why is the cleaner cleaning Thomas? Why can't you let the driver or fireman do it? But of course, if they did that, then we wouldn't have a story. I can see why some Thomas fans like this episode, and so do I. This is so far the only other episode from Season 2 that I like. Number 3. James Goes Buzz Buzz. Yet another famous episode on this list. Like Thomas Comes to Breakfast, everyone knows the plot, so I'll explain why I like this episode. Like everyone else, I like James's red nose. Not only that, but I also like the cartoon animation they use. Whoever did it did a really good job. This episode is so famous that Missoliverandblossom did a great redub of this. I'll leave a link for you in the description box if you want to see it. With good 2D animation and a great story, James Goes Buzz Buzz deserves the number 3 spot. Number 2. Busy Going Backwards. Another one of my favorite Toad and Oliver episodes. In this episode, Toad is sad because he wants to go forwards instead of backwards. So the truck helps him and causes another runaway scene. What I like about this episode is the runaway. As a kid, I would watch the runaway scene over and over and over again. That's how much I like this scene. Plus, the music they use. This was really good. I was really surprised they used this music, and I got hyped whenever I saw the runaway scene. I'm also glad that they used this on another Thomas episode, Thomas and the Jet Engine. This is another episode that someone did a project on this too, called Twilight Sparkle's Adventures of Busy Going Backwards. And he did a great job too. I'll also leave a link for you in the description box if you want to see it. If you want a wild ride, then this is the episode for you. And my number 1 favorite episode is Special Funnel. I really like this episode. Why? Because it's a Peter Sam episode, and Peter Sam is my favorite character. Plus, the setting is great. The snow, and the rain, and the tar, it was just all great. I also like this episode because of Peter Sam's special funnel. Dude, that's a cool funnel. I want a funnel like that if I was an engine. With a great setting, and my favorite characters on there, plus Sir Handel singing a song, is really good. Special Funnel is my all-time favorite episode. And there are my top 20 favorite episodes of the classic series. There's no doubt about it. The classic series were the best series of Thomas, and what helped us made us got into them in the first place. I might do the same thing with the CGI series soon, but until then, I'll see you all in my next video. Take care.